Senator Joe Manchin has once again tanked a bill that might have addressed climate change. Now, the West Virginia Democrat informed Democratic leadership on Thursday that he would not support any new climate spending or tax increases targeting the wealthy and large corporations to pay for what was considered to be mild climate measures. I know Washington will call this historic if there's anything like this passed, but it was some renewable energy investments, things like tax credits for, electric cars and renewable energy, all that stuff. Now, again, it's not really coming close to actually doing what we need to do to fight climate change. But even that, too much for Joe Manchin. So now what's interesting about this is I read the story and the whole mainstream media is pretty shocked. The Washington Post, for example, called it a, quote, stunning setback. And CNN said the change in tone of the negotiations was, quote unquote, abrupt. Really? Is it really shocking? Is it, oh my God. See, Joe Manchin said he was in favor of this until he said that he wasn't. Yeah, that's what he does. No, Joe Manchin doesn't ever want to rein in carbon emissions. He doesn't want to do anything about climate change. Why? Because he'll lose money. He's a coal baron. And just like, Build Back Better, when, they said, these negotiations are going wonderful with Joe Manchin. No, Manchin lied, as usual. According to sources, Manchin had supported these provisions throughout the negotiations with the majority leader, both at the staff and member level. So he says. No, how many times does Lucy have to pull out the football before anybody in Washington, any of these Washington reporters, gets it? Joe Manchin doesn't want to do anything on the climate. He's a Republican. I know, he's a Republican in Dem face. But look what he got Democrats to do. According to the Washington Post, Democrats had already agreed to surrender their most prized spending proposals, from offering paid family and medical leave to providing childcare, free pre-K, and tax benefits to low-income Americans. Stuff that, might have actually helped average people. So, of course, we can't do that. We can't, no, can't help the average American. We can't do it. Not if it costs our beloved wealthy donors and corporations an extra nickel. By the way, these corporations are flush with cash. So now, again, this goes to Washington thinking that, we have inflation is really high, and it's because of all these different things. No, the inflation is largely due to corporate greed. And again, you can point to sky-high corporate profits for these corporations as the cause. If you're having all of this, all these massive profits at a time where, yes, you do have increases in the price of materials, sure, and you have supply chain issues, sure, that's going to raise your price. But if you're maintaining and increasing your profits, that means you're raising the price far above what you need to offset those costs. So the fact that these corporations are making massive profits and doing more stock buybacks, and that just shows you what the real problem is. And it's not that Americans got a check, a $1,400 check years ago. No, it's corporate greed. But of course, Joe Manchin is on the side of corporate greed. And so he's going to protect these companies and say, we cannot possibly do anything to tax them or the rich, and then uses the excuse of inflation. That's what he's doing. Now, if you're Joe Biden, if you actually cared, okay, why are you not out there saying, look at what Joe Manchin is doing? He once again has torpedoed my plans to do something about climate change. Because again, young people, especially young people, but everybody is worried about the effects of climate change. Look at what Joe Manchin did. He could go out and say he sided with the Republicans. Why is he siding with Republicans? Why is he screwing you and your kids over by not passing these incredibly popular policies along with stuff to do something about climate change? Hey, West Virginia voters, you can deal with that? Now, of course, Joe Manchin is not up for re-election for some time, unfortunately. And so I'm guessing, and they might be right, he might be right that people just forget about it. Or at least his voters will forget about it. But Joe Manchin's not even out there speaking against his friend Joe Manchin. I mean, even in the article, Democrats, they're like, we got to be cautious about this because we've been burned so many times by Joe Manchin in these negotiations. So they're already admitting it. They know it. They know he's going to pull the football, and he did once again. Look, Joe Manchin is slapping Biden in the face over and over again. And he doesn't talk bad about Joe Manchin. No, he defends Joe Manchin. And what does he do? He slaps progressives in the face, blames progressives. That's what they're doing all the time, going strongly against progressives. And yet Manchin says, I don't want to raise taxes on corporations. I don't want to raise taxes on rich people because that might affect me. I might lose money. I don't want to do that. Look, Joe Manchin has a clear conflict of interest. He owns a coal company. He's a coal baron. He's invested heavily in fossil fuels. And yet Senate Democrats, Democratic leadership, put him on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Anyone with a functional brain knows that he's not going to support anything that hurts his precious income, his bottom line. And that goes, by the way, for every member of Congress. And yet they're all allowed to trade individual stocks. Every DC reporter that keeps believing that Joe Manchin will actively vote against his own financial interests needs to have their head examined. They're some of the most gullible people alive. You want to call yourself a reporter? A reporter. Give me a break. Oh, no. Democracy dies in darkness, everybody. No, democracy dies when you have the donors in charge. That's what you have. That's what happens. Now, here's an example of reporters just not getting it. They write, on Friday morning, Manchin said on West Virginia local radio that he could support climate spending and tax increases, but only if economic indicators improve in the next month. However, in another article in CNN, Manchin spokesperson Sam Runyon said that Manchin remains seriously concerned about inflation and believes paying down the national debt and raising taxes on high earners and corporations must be our first priority. Interesting. So, wait. So, again, he voted against raising taxes on corporations and wealthy earners and says we must focus on paying down the national debt. But maybe we'll support spending and tax increases at another time. No, it's never going to happen. Never going to happen. He has made clear, Runyon said, that we can protect energy independence and respond to climate change at the same time. We must maintain energy independence by advancing an all of the above energy policy to continue producing energy cleaner than anywhere else in the world. You know what all the above means? It means coal. It means oil and natural gas. That's what it means. So here he is out there tanking this because of its greener energy investments, while at the same time saying, oh, I believe in green energy, but I also believe, we need to do an all of the above, which is going to benefit me. It's just more money for him. And by the way, he is also aiming for $200 billion in deficit reduction. Now, the Post article says that it was not immediately clear how that could be achieved if tax hikes were off the table. Gee, this one's super easy. Maybe even the writers at the Washington Post can figure this one out. Joe Manchin is calling for austerity. That's it. He's going to cut social programs. That's it. That's what they're going to do. More money for fossil fuels, but less for you. That's Joe Manchin's priorities. Everything that he does goes to help corporations and himself and to harm you.